Good afternoon, folks. We are out in Big Gypsum Valley, and this is the Dolores River Boat Ramp Road. There are miles of open territory back here. The boat ramp itself is located 13 miles back down into the Big Gypsum Valley. As you can see, there's immediately um, hills and elevations to the left as we go up, and but off to the right you can see how wide the basin is, and there's actually two basins back on the right, but you need to be here to understand the topography of it. Off in the distance you can see the San Juans, and we were just looking quickly at some things, but we decided to go off-road, not off-road, but off the beaten path a little bit, go back into some of the unsettled work, and we're trying to find some petroglyphs on this ride, but it didn't work out very well for us that way. We now have Google to help us with that. But note as we get farther in, we're not to the boat ramp yet, we're still a couple miles out. Watch how the road quality just starts to diminish. And off on the left, you're seeing those green formations that are sticking out of the hill. Those are abandoned uranium mines, no longer active. They would mine these roads, haul them into, all the uranium into Uravan, and that's where they would get paid for tomcatting. Tomcatting is the prospect of mining on your own, without regulation, and a lot of people used to do it here. But since they did close the mills, there's no place to take the product. Really, it's the only reason why they quit mining it, from what I understand. But we were starting to get back into the tight draws, and this is where we'll be joining up with the Dolores River, which one would think you'd be able to follow into bedrock because they do have a road that runs next to it for quite a while. But we went off to the Dolores River Boat Ramp here, and this is the finer roads. Now watch again, the road qualities are deteriorating as we start to approach the ridges. And we go right in and underneath those ridges, right into here. That was one of the locals on a Harley that rode by the way. No respect for noise around here. And those spots that you see in the road, I'll run that next one slower so you get better definition. Those are boulders sticking out of the road. This is an extremely rough road. I'm only doing about 15 miles an hour through this section, and actually had to stop, and I was trying to get some still photos here and set up my cross tour camera, but I left my remote for it on the bike, on the Triumph, so I did not have it available for me to take still shots as I traveled, which I do like to do, but limited resources here out in the middle of nowhere. So I decided, well, let's take some pictures. I didn't realize I left the time lapse on, but it's just easier to leave it on and edit it later, and we'll take off here in a second, I'm sure. But notice this, the piers or the spears that are appearing up top, the rock formations. And this is one of the, like I said, this is raw Colorado beauty. Very little development back here, very little ranch work back here. We did pass that one ranch coming in there that you noticed with the tilled field, but and we are past the boat ramp now. We just passed it, and here come the horse riders. Yep, drinking and riding, throwing beer cans out, talking crap about the motorcycle. That's not a real bike. You know, I just don't understand why people have to be rude. Their company was a lot nicer. They were at least, you know, not mean. But there you saw the boulders jutting out, and that's the minimal size. So, and the reason why is you just can't grade what they put through here anymore. They have to come through and improve it with some soft gravel. But this is what you call a raw road. It's just cut out of the wilderness. And you know, we're going back into a horseshoe canyon here. And this is where now the Dolores was running to the left of us. Then as we go through the Horseshoe Canyon, we pass over it. There, it's on the left of us, excuse me. But actually the Dolores River continues off to the right behind those ridges. And that's where it continues on and falls down into the bedrock area. But the Big Gypsum Valley continues further. And it just keeps going and going. We honestly got to a point where, and that's up here pretty quick. Here I'm starting to watch fuel gauge. You know, gee, I wonder if I go too much farther, you know, what kind of trouble I'm going to get. Just past the county road, so I'm starting to think, oh, we have good sign here. But again, the road doesn't improve, and in fact continues to get worse. And these are just cut roads with cattle guards on them that somebody ran a cat down and, you know, just cut a straight path in decades ago. Everything ages here at an odd basis. It's like a moonscape. And as we continue farther back into some of these tighter ridges, we crossed over into another valley here, actually, in this area right here. Now, you notice those painted cliffs in the background that we saw wiggling back and forth as I negotiated the corners. Those are actually west of Paradox. So we were off course for bedrock by about 10 miles at this point. And I was hitting a half tank of gas right here. And I said, hon, we got to go back. So this return trip, I love how you can track my rear wheel track if you watch it carefully. But this return trip was very fast. I was again down to 4 bars on the fuel gauge. I've got, I think it was 24 miles of dirt road at this point. Plus I've still got 45 miles of Ryde road that we came out on the main road on 141. So I needed to get back, and it got a little scary. The lesson that we learned here was if you're going to go exploring out here in this country, bring spare fuel. There's no cell coverage. There's nothing out here. If a person were to get lost out here, it would be deadly. And because there's no running water out here either. This is the desert area that's on the western area of Colorado, and it's quite desolate. And during the summer it gets hot. The Dolores River runs a lot of water down, but by the time it comes through here, it's basically, it is still a river, but it's a trickle. You know, I just love this Horseshoe Canyon. This made my day here. This is one of the unique geography features that we ran across. So privileged that they didn't put that bridge in where they did, and because you just get such a unique view of the Dolores River and the way it interacts with the Big Gypsum Valley. There you can see those big rocks a little better as they fly by. It's still moving. I actually went through here quite a bit faster because we had to keep the speed up to keep the MPGs up and stretch out that last little bit of fuel. So the camera had gotten beaten around a little bit, so you're starting to see how the nose negotiates. It gives you a little appreciation for how rough it was. But now I did adjust the camera back because we get a better view of the cliffside. And again, it's just some amazing cliff scenery, and one of the most unique rides I've been on since, honestly, since I've ridden. This was like a combination of off-road trek adventure, and yes, it was on my 3-wheel Can-Am. I did have the ground clearance. You got to watch the nose, but most of the desert roads around here don't. They're not rutted. It never rains here, so they're actually quite smooth. But when the rocks start to poke through or grow through the road, you know, with winter, it can make them rough. And honestly, once they are to a point, a grader can come through and the blade just bounces right off rocks. That's what that area is there. They'll have to bring gravel in to improve the road back there by the boat ramp, but for what? It's honestly not a good area to fish. They put those in there for rafting, those boat ramps, because there's some amazing rafting with the Dolores River that goes from that boat ramp through the valley, the Horseshoe Valley, and then on back down into Bedrock. It's about 10 miles of rapid riding down there. It's supposed to be amazing. But we're coming back towards the 141 now. There was some pronghorn that we passed there, but I was hoping we'd catch them, but we didn't see them. And by the time we thought about turning around, they were gone. And here we're crossing roughly 10 miles of just wide open desert steppe. The cattle do roam here. It's still mostly open range. A couple places are fenced off, but most everybody, I mentioned that, most everybody keeps it open range here, but there are some people that have fenced in. And you have to respect that with the value of cattle these days. And here we are, and thank you.